The costly and complex challenges of solving climate crisis have these central themes: that we'll have to change our lifestyle, that we'll have to make sacrifices, and we'll pay a heavy price. But what if we didn't have to change?
Let's pretend that we could reduce our greenhouse gases, lower the planet's temperature, and calm the extreme weather in a way that is easy for the public to get fully behind, quick for leaders in government and business to implement, and sees little change to the basic structures of society and the economy.
Would you be willing to explore this new solution?
There is no denying the problem we need to solve is climate change, and almost everyone agrees that greenhouse gases are the main cause of this.
Our current plan is to lower levels of CO2 because that is easy to tackle by reducing our use of fossil fuels and keeping as many trees as possible.
For most people, trees are seen as the lungs of the planet, as they convert CO2 into oxygen and carbon. The oxygen goes into the air and the carbon is captured by the wood. But did you know that land-based vegetation only produces 30% of our oxygen, and that 70% of our oxygen comes from oceans and water-based plants? I didn't until COP26 in 2021, when I heard the presentation made by Dr. Howard Dryden, a marine biologist of 40 years. What he had to say blew my mind. And what I am presenting to you is a simpler version of his science. Dr. Dryden is the person with the answers, but in a nutshell,
the oceans are the vital part of our climate solution. Because if they produce 70% of our oxygen, then they capture 70% of our carbon and store it on the ocean floor in the abyss.
So what is going wrong? Why aren't the oceans dealing with the excess CO2 that we are producing? Pollution. Liquid and microplastic pollution in the oceans is causing climate change. We need to stop polluting the oceans now. The good news is that cleaning the oceans is much easier than we realize. I have interviewed Dr. Dryden 3 times now, and it is clear he knows what the problems are, and that there is a quick solution to solving climate change, one that everyone can get behind. Ocean pollution is on many people's minds right now, but what they don't realize is that climate change and ocean pollution are linked.
And by stopping all pollution going into the ocean, we reduce greenhouse gases. We allow marine life to reverse their dramatic decline and stabilize the weather. So where is this pollution coming from?
According to UNESCO, 80% of the planet's industrial and municipal waste goes straight into the oceans untreated. That's sewage, liquids from factories, fertilizers from fields, and thousands of tons of microplastic. It is fair to say that all pollution, even atmospheric, ends up in the ocean. The oceans are not working at full capacity because of the enormous amount of waste we are pumping into them, and the oxygen-producing marine life is suffering.
So how do our oceans work?
The main source of ocean oxygen comes from phytoplankton. They are tiny, but work in exactly the same way as land-based plants. They take in CO2, create oxygen, store carbon, and are eaten by copepods and other marine life. The copepods transfer the carbon to the ocean floor either through their poop or their carcass when they die. Given the right conditions, this process can consume 30 times the amount of CO2 our industry can produce. Currently, there are 5 gigatons of copepods in the ocean. They migrate twice a day and move as much water as the moon does. Not so long ago, there used to be 10 gigatons. That's the effect our industrial and domestic waste is having on the oceans, on our oxygen-producing oceans. And if we don't stop polluting our water now, the copepods will be gone.
Ocean purification is the quickest solution to climate change.
In industry, it has been common practice to assume the oceans can take whatever we pour into them. In fact, the expression, dilution is the solution to pollution, is widespread and wrong. We need to change our way of thinking. We need to ensure that all waste going into the oceans is as close as possible to drinking quality. We need to do no harm. By treating the oceans with respect, we could solve one of our main problems, too much CO2. And using the oceans to capture carbon is much quicker than waiting for trees to grow. For trees and land-based vegetation, it takes up to 60 years to double in mass. However, as over 60% of marine life is under 1 millimetre in size, it takes just 3 days for it to double in mass. So by planting trees, we solve the problem in decades. By cleaning up the oceans, we can measure the time to solve this problem in years.
Clean oceans are the quickest way to solve our CO2 problem, but we have to act now.
Speed is essential as the chemicals in municipal waste are making the oceans more acidic, and the copepods, as they are carbon-based, will soon dissolve. If we carry on polluting the oceans, in about 10 to 20 years, our oxygen-producing marine life will collapse. The good news is that the mechanics of cleaning our wastewater on a global scale is much simpler than you realise, and something that Dr. Howard Dryden has proved can work.
But this simple rule has to be followed.
All waste that goes into the ocean needs to be close to drinking quality. However, this doesn't mean building vast amounts of Western-style water treatment plants around the world. It would take too long. They are resource-hungry, high maintenance, and don't benefit local communities.
What Dr. Howard Dryden is recommending is a series of lagoons that treat the water over 12 days instead of our current 12 hours.
These small lagoons are looking after the liquid waste from a landfill site in England. On a much larger scale, they can cope with a waste of 10,000 people, with the final lagoon acting as a focal point of the community, for example as a place to grow crops or farm fish. And this pursuit of clean wastewater will kickstart a new industrial revolution where business and science combine to make alternatives to the harmful products that we are putting into the oceans, into our food chain, and then into the people. The economic, financial and business systems can remain in place, they just have to stop polluting the oceans. It would be a 20-year sprint, a motivation of governments and public that the world has never seen, with cleaner oceans and more predictable weather as the goal.
Purifying our waste and preserving our marine life has to be worth considering and then acting upon. But we've waited too long. We have to act now. Are you up for the challenge?